I've been working on a Kirby anime series, and with spooky season officially starting, I wanted to make Kirby specifically absorb villains. Now that we've got some references, it's time to start sculpting. I was conflicted with how I wanted to do the feet. I was in between making the iconic red Kirby shoes and Frieza's three-toed lizard-like feet. I ended up going for the toes because I thought it looked hilarious, and it does. But let me know what you think. Should I have gone for the shoes? At this point, he's starting to look like an albino gecko. But after adding these purple details, he's looking more like Frieza. I wanted to have him in one of his sassy attack poses. To make the death ball, I mixed resin with some soft pastel dust. This little ball of destruction looks so pretty in the light. After gluing it together and adding a couple coats of resin, he's finished. I love how he turned out. What do you think we should name him? Lord Kirbisa? Lord Frieby? Time for Shigaraki to get absorbed by Kirby. Now that I have my references, let's start sculpting. This is part 2 of my Kirby absorbs anime villain series for spooky season. To make the shoes look more like Shigaraki's, I'm adding some gray soles and black shoelaces. The most difficult part of this build was definitely the hair. After adding the strand of hair, I would give it a little curl, which was extremely tedious. But I wasn't too focused on making it perfect, because the messier his hair, the crazier he'd look. Before adding hair in the front, I added some dead Kirby colored hands. I was in between making human shaped hands and Kirby hands, but I felt Kirby hands made more sense, because they're supposed to be the hands of his family members. I also went ahead and painted his face before adding more hair, since it would be a lot more difficult to paint with the hair in the way. Once I started adding the bangs, it was looking more like Shigaraki. Finally, I connected the hands with red cords and added a couple coats of resin. And he's done! What do you think of Kirby's new quirk? Kirby is currently in its villain arc, and I think it's about time we make a Jujutsu Kaisen character. This is part 3 of my Kirby absorbs anime villain series for spooky season. Unfortunately, I didn't have any references, so I did a little shopping, for the sake of research of course. If you haven't guessed yet, Kirby is absorbing Sukuna today. I wanted Kirby's arms to be up in the air as if he's in the middle of an evil laugh. I'm also adding fingers because I wanted to give him some sharp claws. Now just giving him a little manicure to make them extra sharp. After painting his face, all he was missing was a full body tattoo. If you're wondering why I didn't make the hair as well, it's because I wanted to make it as if Kirby ate one of Sukuna's fingers. And I think the pink hair is just because it's Yuji's. But I've only watched the anime and I haven't read the manga. Either way, I still think he turned out cute in a creepy sort of way. Let me know which villain you'd like to see Kirby absorb next. Let's make Kirby absorb Geto. This is part 4 of my Kirby absorbs anime villain series for spooky season. But wait, there's a surprise. We're actually making Kenjaku as well. I had mixed feelings about giving Kirby a craniotomy, so I amputated his arm while I was at it, because I wanted to recreate and pay homage to this scene specifically. After making a bunch of random squiggly lines for the brain, I removed a section and filled it with white clay, finishing the sculpting portion for Kenjaku. Now onto the head cap? Not really sure what to call it. Anyways, after drilling in some holes and adding the top portion of Geto's hair, I finished off the build by adding the bottom portion of his hair. I'm trying a new technique by cutting the hair instead of making each individual strand. Finally, I painted on the facial details and glued down his head cap. I tinted some resin blue for the brain juice and added a layer of UV resin for some shine and protection. And here's the finished piece. Definitely the creepiest Kirby I've made. I wanted to finish this trio of Dragon Ball Z villains, so it's time to make Kirby absorb Perfect Cell. This is part 5 of my Kirby absorbs anime villain series for spooky season. I was considering making it as if Kirby was wearing a Cell hat, like how I did for my Pachita Kirby, but I decided against it since I didn't do that for Frieza or Majin Buu. So for consistency purposes, I went for this design. But that's a great thing about art. You can make it however you like. There is no right or wrong. And if you're unhappy with the results, you can always try again with a different design next time. But I'm pretty happy with how he turned out. The pink eyes and blush really takes the cuteness to a whole new level. Finally, a coat of UV resin to finish him off. I think he turned out perfect. Get it? Because it's Perfect Cell. Spooky season is over, but I didn't want to end Kirby's villain arc before making him absorb Dio, since it seemed like you guys really wanted this. Unfortunately, I didn't plan ahead and made his hair before painting his face. Needless to say, it was extremely difficult to paint the eyes underneath the bangs. Since this mashup was so highly requested, I wanted to make it extra special. So I'm making his stand, the world, as well. But he was looking a little like Geodude. Thankfully, that changed after I added more of the armor. To be honest, I haven't really watched much of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, but I did binge a couple episodes for the sake of research. And let me just say, Dio Brando is such an for killing JoJo's dog. I think he might be the most cruel villain Kirby's absorbed so far, but I guess it's a fitting way to end Kirby's villain arc. Finally, I coated the two pieces with UV resin and attached it to a clear acrylic sheet to make it one solid piece. Let me know which anime character you'd like to see Kirby absorb next.